So you can do the mouth.
Welcome to another BioCare Roundtable. We have several doctors on the list right now. And what I'd like to do is have each one introduce themselves and your expertise. What is the area that you most go with, or what you deal with? Yeah. And we also have Kevin Gallagher, who is the CEO and runs the whole show. So we appreciate that as well.
And we are.
And I'm Pastor Bill.
And Kathy.
This is Kathy Farr. So we'll start, I guess, with Dr. Romero, if you'd like to introduce yourself and share what your expertise is.
Hi, I'm Dr. Melba Romero, and I have been working in this hospital for the last 30-some years. And I am not really an expertise, but my line of work is to help people with people with cancer or with chronic, degenerative, even terminal diseases with their nutrition, to have a healthier and stronger immune system, even with disease. So that's basically what I do. It's mostly very deprived patients, the nutrition on very deprived patients.
Yes, and it's well needed. Very well needed.
Yes,
all right.
Very much.
Thank you.
Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll move over to Dr. Vasquez.
Hi, how are you?
Have you introduced?
Yes.
Good.
I'm working at BioCare Hospital since 1990. Ever since, I'm learning with my patients day by day more and more things. One of the things that we like to do, as Dr. Romero said, is to work on a individualized program for our patients. I used to see patients with cancer as well with chronic degenerative diseases. We are seeing a lot of cases of Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, and autoimmune conditions. So this is basically the diseases that I see on daily basis.
Okay, very good. All right, and we'll move over to Dr. Arteaga.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Noelia Arteaga. I've been working at BioCare Hospital for years. As Dr. Romero and Dr. Vasquez mentioned previously, we go along with the patients throughout their journey here at BioCare, whether they have a chronic degenerative disease, they have cancer, or they have certain or autoimmune diseases. Not just if our patients are sick, but to prevent from becoming sick, or to help them have a better quality of life.
Yes.
We help them or teach them how to eat, how to exercise, and how to regain their strength after they go home.
Okay.
Good.
Nice. And we're up to Dr. Savadra.
Hello, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well.
Good afternoon.
My field of expertise is physical medicine and rehabilitation, and I've been contributing on that field with the hospital since 2005. Recently, I have also completed a master's in supplements, so that's something that I also brought to the hospital. And my expertise comes into play as a complement to the therapies that are currently being offered in the hospital. So I work closely with Dr. Artiaga, Dr. Romero, or Dr. Vasquez, and complement the treatments.
Good.
Very good. All right, and we got Dr. Rodriguez now joining us, and he's actually the head of everything, and so
Yeah.
we really appreciate his being here as well. And so we'll turn it over to you, and then we're going to talk about food, I guess. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, excuse me. Let me tell you who we are.
There
Yeah.
we go.
We are an alternative oriented medical center. We are a full hospital. We can do everything hospitals do, take blood, be in the hospital, go through medical treatments, etc. But we're very much oriented in using or taking advantage of all the biological resources that our bodies have. We have been led to believe that if you get sick, it's because of something happening out there, and that going to the doctor, he's going to give you a diagnosis, he's going to give you a prescription, you're going to take a drug, and you're cured. Okay, nothing is that wrong. We are falling victim. That's the number one situation why
Mm-hmm.
we're talking today. We are
Yes.
we have a continuing and devastating effect on food in everybody, and this is really tragic because we all have to eat. We all eat,
Yeah.
and uh, and uh, and the problem is our food going to be a friend or a foe? And it turns out that in many people, it turns out to be a fault. It is a real big problem. Why? Well,
Hmm.
because a lot of things. But suffice to say that the food pyramid is a politically decided food
Mm-hmm.
idea that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with science or nutrition or human studies. And then we vilified what used to be the typical American diet, the staple diet of America, uh, ever since it was formed. And all of a sudden, back in the years 60s, 50s, 60s, it was decided that we had to review why people were getting sick, particularly at that time, it was heart disease, which was growing at staggering numbers. And they said, okay, what's happening? Nobody saw that the culprit of that heart disease epidemic came from the times where natural fats were excluded from the human diet. Uh,
Hmm.
Nobody saw that all of a sudden we decided to make away with lard, with tallow, with olive oil, and those things, and we started
Mm-hmm.
consuming vegetable oils, basically because they were very cheap. They were very inexpensive. They could be produced in huge amounts, and so you could afford to give it to people at a very low price. Little did we know that that was going to bring a
Mm-hmm.
huge problem, a health problem. But then when we
Hmm.
started looking at what's going on, people took a lot of terrible mistakes. One of them considered that cholesterol was the culprit. Cholesterol is a natural substance. Actually, 80% of the cholesterol in your body is made by your body. Only 20% of
Hmm.
that is comes from food. And if you don't eat any cholesterol, then the body will make not 80 but 90, 95% of your cholesterol, because cholesterol is a very essential substance within the body. So nobody could took any of that into consideration. And then when fats were vilified, we turned to carbohydrates. And the problem is we began to have the wrong type of carbohydrates. Why? Because we began to create genetically modified gluten enriched wheats and so forth. And all of a sudden, our bodies could not really deal with that type of a food. And then the mills were, they grinded the grain so fine, so little, so small, that it could be very readily absorbed, creating spikes of carbohydrate in your blood, creating insulin rush, and creating all the problems that we're seeing today. And I have to tell you that 7 out of every 10 Americans are going to die through these problems, through chronic degenerative disease. And we have to change our attention, to shift our focus attention to what exactly are we doing with food. Now, what my dismay, my worry, my everything, that's why we're meeting today. And I hope that between all of us can convince people to take a second look at what we're eating, because the the amount of medical evidence, the amount of papers that have been published uh, vouching for what I'm saying right now are huge. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of papers being produced on what human nutrition should be like and what we should not be
Yes.
doing. And nobody pays attention. And we
Yeah.
just
I
keep on
know.
doing everything. And then we say, well, I'm going to take this, but it's just a little bit, it's just a little bit, it's just a little bit. One can of soda a day amounts to 50 grams of sugar, excuse me, to 50 pounds of sugar a year. So that little bit is not a little bit. And if we go to the problems, to the toxic problems that sugar, that refined flour, that all these ultra refined foods have, then we see more of a problem. And what we
Yes.
have to do is, there's so many resources that I just asking people to pay attention, to listen to this program. And if you have any questions at the end of the program, please contact us. We're always open. We have toll-free number. We
Yes.
have
Yes.
social media. Contact us. Ask questions. You're not going to be charged anything. But I like to say, people, don't do exactly what we have been doing for so long, because it's really costing our
Yes.
lives.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And when you said it's so important for people to know these things, when Bill and I go to the store and we're looking for certain things in the food, like we won't buy it if it says bioengineered or if it's genetically modified, even though they don't have to label it now, but we will look very carefully. And yet, every single person we talk to, whether it's a clerk or whether it's somebody in the store, they have no idea about this information. They look at us like we're crazy.
Well, now that you brought it up, I think GMOs or bioengineered foods are something that we should talk about. And I guess maybe if we kind of go around the table again.
Well, I really would like it if everyone would take turns and speak about one issue maybe that is their major concern about our current food supply.
Okay.
Because people really do need to know this information. It is an epidemic right now. Our food supply is killing us.
Yeah.
And people don't understand it. It's
That's
so
true.
important, like Dr. Rodriguez said.
Yeah.
So if we could maybe do a round robin.
Round table.
Yes.
We're talking. So I guess we'll start with Dr. Romero, as she's on that end of our list here. So we'll start that way and move across.
Okay. Well, for me, the main enemy in our food supply right now, of course, GMOs are a concern. But for me, even more than GMOs are the sodium. I think that sodium is the number one killer. It's the number one carcinogenic agent that we consume. The number one for high blood pressure, the number one for inflammation, the number one for multiple diseases, for autoimmune diseases. So sodium is the number one killer. Second, sugar. Sugar is our enemy. and it's something that we control.
Yes.
Both of them can be controlled. And of course, all industrialized products are our enemy. We should probably eat as if we were living 150 years ago, how people would eat back
Mm-hmm.
then, and that would be a lot healthier. Always, but never forget the sodium. For me, sodium number one. Sodium nitrate,
Okay.
sodium in its different forms. It's our number one enemy. You name the disease, sodium is right there. Yeah, even
Wow.
nowadays, there is the DASH diet. You can find it in the internet everywhere. It's been, for me, is one of the best diets because it's like a mixture of Mediterranean diet or a lot of the Mediterranean diet with a decreased amount of sodium in it. So I really think that that's something to be watchful for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. That's
Thank you. Good to know.
eye-opening. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Vasquez, do you have a certain item that you're more interested in or that you see?
Yes.
A pet
When a
peeve.
pa- when a patient comes to us, we ask how you're eating, and so that way we can propose a plan, nutritional plan from them. For us, nutrition or diet is as important as the pharmacy. Uh, Diet is very,
Yes.
very important. Uh, the body abilities to fix itself is remarkable. What the body really needs is to have the raw materials to start producing, fix the problems inside, and to avoid or stop
Hmm.
eating the wrong food. This is the thing that we have to teach the patient, and we can do that by listening and proposing a plan of treatment individualized for each patient.
Good.
All right.
Dr. Artiega?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
one second, please. No. Sorry about
We
that.
can. Oh, that's okay.
Well, you were speaking about GMOs or bioengineered food, and of course, there's some advantages that the farmers will tell you, like it's cheaper for them and for the consumer to eat them, and they will lack of bugs, and but the thing is that they have been modified to be bigger in size, to be
Mm-hmm.
better in shape, and also to taste better. But we for certain know that they can lead to certain allergies because they modify them to not to be resistant to antibiotics, to pesticides, and also they can
hmm.
lead to certain cancers if the DNA has been
Mm-hmm.
modified, and those mutations can lead to cancer. So that's a big disadvantage. Of course, it could be a potential meal or diet for certain people that can afford it. But of course, like you mentioned, it's good for you that if you can afford or try to select what's
Mm-hmm.
better for you, do not go for that kinds of or brands that are all over the
Right.
market. As you
Right.
mentioned, also there's no need for the products to be labeled as non-GMO, but probably you can differentiate or look in the internet that there's certain things like soy, apples, or tomatoes are the most ones that are um, GMO at this time. So try to look for
Really?
certain products that are not that kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I personally don't feel that the bioengineered and the GMO taste better.
No.
And,
Yeah.
and I always thought too, you mentioned tomatoes. I have like a list. I'm like, no white rice, no peas. And what else do I say? No
Oh,
white flour, no white bread,
yeah.
but sometimes we eat it.
Yeah.
I didn't know tomatoes that were that bad, but we don't eat tomatoes, so we don't even look for that.
Yeah.
But we go down a list of things that we know, like corn.
Yeah.
You might as well not eat corn anymore unless you go to an Amish farmer that has managed to keep their crop free of GMOs.
Yeah.
And we always liked popcorn, so we actually found non-GMO popcorn from an Amish farmer that we order. So you do have to be careful. And we're looking for products that actually state on their label, we are not GMO, we are not bioengineered, because if they want to sell to a certain market, they will do that on their labels.
Mhm.
And we look for that.
Dr. Savadra, you have a pet peeve?
Oh yes.
Oh, go ahead. Dr.
Well-
Artiega wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Always.
just we encourage our patients, the ones that they can, like Amish patients, and they have their own crops. Well, they know we know when they tell us when they're here at the hospital that they try to be as much natural as they can. But if there's some other
Yes.
people there watching us or listening to us, encourage them to do their own crops. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be big, but they can start with with certain plants or certain fruits that won't have or need more much space to have at home.
Yes, and try to find or locate heirloom seeds.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, well, very good. We're over to Dr. Saavedra.
Okay, I would like to start by saying that the word diet it comes from the Latin and it means a way of life. And as such, it can be different for different populations. So the main thing here is that we as humans are very adaptable. So we can survive or we can thrive on different types of substances. So that's why the people, the Eskimos, for example, would have a very high fat diet, and people that are closer to the equator will have a diet that's based on goat's milk and the hunt of the day. We also have like the Mediterranean diet, which is very high in olive oil and low gluten wheat, for example. So there are different types of diets in different regions of the world. But when you are sick, you need that diet to be adapted to your needs. So, for example, depending on what your issues are, you might need a low sodium diet,
Yes.
or you might need a high fiber diet, or you might need a high protein diet. But most diets come in, they, they, uh, they come together in the sense that the cleaner the diet, the better. So a highly processed diet, a diet that's filled with GMOs, a standard American diet, for example, those are no-nos all the time. From there, you can branch out to different types of eating, which are most likely going to be proper for you specifically, as long as some of the requirements are made. And the biggest requirement is the diet needs to be nutritious for you and it needs to keep you healthy. And the only way to make sure that that's happening is to have a proper evaluation by your doctor in this case.
And do you also adhere to blood type for your diet, eating by your blood type, or is that not something that you all work with?
That's another type of diet. It's like saying the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet. If you go and look at the fine print, let's call it, of the blood type diet, it's a very clean diet. So most people in the world are O positive. So most people in the world could eat the same thing, but it's not the same. Not the same produce if you live, let's say, in Alaska versus living in
Right.
Yucatan, Merida, for example. Different foods, even in the same country, you will find different regions. So in order for you to have a proper diet for yourself, you need that what's available to you can be properly utilized, so you get the nutrition that you need from your food.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're, I think, back to, unless Kevin had something, you had a question or anything?
Yeah, I do. And, what I find really interesting is that when my wife and I got off of the GMOs, and you were talking about tomatoes and taking certain things, I know tomatoes are in the nightshade family. And when we got
Yes.
the tomatoes out and some of the things that cause a lot of inflammation, especially with me, the weight went right down, and I took
Ah,
a good 15, 20 pounds off. And it was just by making some small modifications. And, the old adage
Mm-hmm.
is you are what you eat, and it's actually true.
yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
true. I know the nightshade family. Does anyone have any expertise in that area about the nightshade vegetables? Because we've heard about that, and luckily we don't eat tomatoes. But what is the reasoning behind those being so bad for people in many cases?
Nightshade.
Up for
Well,
grabs.
with the diet, the thing is how your body responds
Yeah.
to what you are eating. So in this case, nightshades, some people, like the example we were given, will react a lot. And once you remove those nightshades,
Okay.
your low-level inflammation will resolve. But some people are perfectly capable of
Yeah.
eating tomatoes and they have no issues.
Hmm.
So you need to
Okay.
be
All right.
aware
So
of
it's
what
not a
types of food.
generalized.
No, not at all.
Hmm.
Some types of food will
Okay.
be bad for you and others not. And it all depends. It has a big component uh, that has to do with your microbiota. So depending on what you usually eat, you will have different microbes in your gut that are working for you to actually process these foods and take the best out of it. The issue is when you have a bad diet, for example, standard American diet, which is a highly processed food, you also have the wrong bacteria in your gut. So that leads to something
Mm-hmm.
called leaky gut most of the times, and then your body starts getting all this chronic inflammation, and that leads to all those other diseases.
Mm.
Yes. And if I could jump in
Okay.
real quick, I have somebody that got a question over to me on my phone. They're watching, and they want to know they're around 80 years old. They're in pretty good health, but they wind up getting constipated quite a bit, and they want to know what foods they should eat, what foods they should avoid to keep that from happening.
Okay, let me answer that one. Uh,
All right.
we have when people have these sort of symptoms, when people have constipation or too many too many gases, or bloatedness, or
Mm-hmm.
acid reflux, etc. When you have any of these gastrointestinal symptoms, you are doing something wrong. You are
Mm-hmm.
eating something wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the big problems, okay, just for everybody's comfort, it's been fairly short time since organic foods came to the market. Nevertheless, in that short period of time, studies show that people that follow organic diets do much better health wise. And why? Because they're avoiding a lot of things that we shouldn't eat. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
uh, constipation of, for example, is lack of fiber in your food, too little water,
Mm-hmm.
too little physical activity, uh, same bloatedness and so forth. Dr. Saavedra was talking right now about the intestinal flora. And the intestinal flora's health depends very much in what we eat, because what we eat to feed ourselves is what we're feeding to our intestinal bacteria. If we eat the right type of thing, we're going to have the right type of population. If we eat the wrong foods or chemicals, because right now the typical American diet
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of blatant chemical uh, invasion. I mean, you read the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
labels, and you have all these chemical names. What do they have to do with food?
Right.
So I
Right.
always encourage people to look for a different type of food. You have to. It's a very important quest, and once again, if you go to the web, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of papers on information, recipes, ways to do things. If you don't do it, it's because right now we don't want to see it, and
Mm-hmm.
we have this is exactly my when my dismay comes around, when I say I see people and they don't pay attention. You say, okay, we don't go for
Right.
GMOs, we don't eat tomatoes. How many people you know that are actually taking care of what they eat and say, no, this shouldn't go to my
Yeah,
table. You see,
Right.
and
that's
we
right.
have done so many things. One simple example is wheat. We used to have wheat and we didn't have any problem with it, but we started changing wheats to get wheats that produce more, that resisted more infections, that had a better way to be put in a shelf without any damage. But when we were doing that, we were also producing wheats that have a lot more gluten than before.
Hmm.
What are we complaining of right now? Of
Hmm.
celiac disease, of gluten intolerance.
Yes,
Why? Because we're eating a lot more. Not only that,
we have too
but we
much.
used to have wheat fermented. We put yeast to raise the bread. They don't do it anymore
Hmm.
because it takes time. They don't have the time.
Yeah.
They put baking soda, they put racing powder, and that's what they do with food. So they can prepare it, put it in the oven, and sell it to you in an hour's time. Well,
Hmm.
Yeah.
there is a very good nutritionist who's also a baker. He's a Spanish guy, and he says if the bread you're eating today was not started yesterday, you're eating the wrong thing. In other words, you have to prepare
Hmm.
the dough, you have to raise it, you have to let it ferment,
Hmm.
because that is going to transform the wheat into something more nutritious. So it's not only
Right.
creating wholesome things, organic, but also the way you prepare them. And
That's
when you look
very
at
true.
food right now, we all go for cheap, fast,
Hmm.
filling food. And what we're getting then is food that is not really nutritious. So we eat and we are hungry a little bit later. And we,
Hmm.
by taking a bite, by taking a sugar bar, by taking whatever, a soda pop, what we're doing is raising our insulin level, and obesity and overweight is about insulin level. So if we're
Hmm.
going to do that, we're going to be obese, no question about it. But if we eat really nourishing food like fish or good food, a wholesome grass-fed cheese, that type of thing,
Hmm.
we're going to be
Yes.
satisfied
Right.
for a longer time. So we're not going to have all these spikes with insulin. And if we avoid those spikes, then it might happen like what Kevin was telling us. We're going to start losing weight because our insulin secretion level is going to be lower, and it's going to be more consistent. We're not going to have a spike. But if we have a soda pop, if we have a sugar bar, if we have a dessert, if we have an ice cream, we're going to be creating insulin spikes every little while, and then we're going to gain weight. We're going to be fat, no question about it. So the important message, if I wanted to say, I want to give a take home message, which actually we're delivering to
Hmm.
your own,
Yes.
is
Right.
don't don't just buy food, don't just eat. Think again. I tell my patients
Hmm.
many times. Every time you're going to take a bite, think exactly what do you want to do. You want a little bit of satisfaction, because no question about it, many of those things are very palatable. You just want that type of a treat, regardless of your blood pressure, your heart, your inflammation, your muscles, your stomach well-being, etc. Or you're eating because you want to take care of your body. And I'm going to give you a good example.
Hmm.
When you have a garden at home, when you have a plant at home, you take care of it because you want it to be nice and blooming and beautiful.
Hmm.
And so you have to water it, you have to fertilize it, you have to take care of shade and light, etc. And that is what you have to do with your body. When you are going to buy your food, you're going to buy the elements with which your body is going to function. And the better your body functions, the more it's going to deliver. And you're going to love the
Hmm.
results. Just be a little bit patient,
Hmm.
Yes.
do it for 2 weeks, and then you're going to see the big difference. Just like Kevin was saying us. I made some
Hmm.
changes and I started enjoying the results.
Yeah,
Very true.
that's true. When we're talking about food, and you mentioned a few of the bad foods, and I guess maybe if we could go around the table again and talk about some of those bad foods that we should avoid at all cost. I know we heard about sodium and tomatoes and things like that, but I've heard milk. Cow's milk is not good for you. I've heard fried foods. I've heard cereal, like Fruit Loops and
Of course
those kind of
not.
things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we can go around the table again, and Dr.
Let
Romero,
me
start with you, and
let me
maybe
no let me
talk
let me
about some of the bad foods. Oh,
no
okay, Dr. Rodriguez.
let me interrupt at that point because you touch on one of the things that really fascinates me. And
Uh-huh.
when I was a doctor, I was already a doctor when all these changes started to happen. I was already
Mm.
finishing medical school when they told us that milk was bad, that fat was bad, that eggs were bad. Uh, we remember those things, and then we were told, "Don't do
Hmm.
this, don't do that," and I just couldn't believe it. Number one, because I really believe in the wisdom of God. How come milk could be a bad thing? How come eggs could be a bad thing? How come all the food that has been provided to us for thousands of years can be bad?
Hmm.
And you know what? The answer is what have we done to those foods? And
Mm.
True.
there are very recent studies that I'm able to share with anybody that proves that when a cow is treated as a cow, the milk and the dairy products it produces, they're absolutely not only healthy but health promoting. What do
Hmm.
I mean when I say treat a cow as a cow? Well, cows are ruminants. They shouldn't be eating grains. They shouldn't be eating corn. They should be
Right.
grazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when
I
you
feel
go and
strongly
look,
about that too.
yeah, when you go out and look for grass fed grazing
Hmm.
Right.
free animals, you're going to have excellent quality of these products. Second, you're not going to look for modified milk. You're not going to look for low fat milk or any of those things. I have always wondered if God wanted us to have low fat milk, wouldn't the cows give us low fat milk? And so
Yes.
Low
why
fat
does He
cow.
gives us whole milk? You see, so I don't go for low fat milk. And
Uh,
the same thing happened with eggs. Eggs were also
mm.
mistreated. The quality of the eggs are very bad because chicken were put in a jail with a lamp so they could produce 2 or even 3 eggs every 24 hours. So the quality of the food you're eating
Hmm.
is lousy. So I think it's very
Yes.
important to do that, also that determination, because one of the good things, and this has been published, there is a very important study called Pure that reviews food. It's been 250,000 people reviewing what you should eat to be healthy. And of course, you can see fruits and vegetables and that type of thing. And they have now included whole grass fed milk. So that
Mm.
is very important to know. So I'd like people that are
What we
watching to be
found.
careful.
Hmm.
It's not just milk, and probably the same happens with tomatoes. I think that if we choose the
Yeah.
tomatoes, if you plant them in your garden, if you let them ripen on the vine and that type of thing, I think you're going to have a
Hmm.
very fine piece of food. Now I'm
Uh,
going to pass it to Dr.
nice.
Romero to see
Yeah,
what
that
she has
that
to say.
makes sense.
Hi.
Makes sense.
Uh,
Dr.
I was just
Romero.
regarding your question about the nightshade family. the nightshade family.
Mm-hmm.
The nightshade family, which includes tomatoes and um, potatoes,
Potatoes, yeah.
eggplant,
Eggplants.
eggplant,
Yeah.
and tobacco,
Mm.
peppers. Did I
Hmm.
mention peppers? Peppers. Well,
Hmm.
the thing is, why are they so vilified or like satanized? Is that the word? Um,
Mm-hmm.
because these plants, the nightshade family, when they are growing, in all of the plant, they have a product called the type of alkaloids, and alkaloids are actually toxic. They're toxins, alkaloids. But
Oh.
the alkaloids
Huh.
on the nightshade family plants, the alkaloid on the nightshade family plants serve as a protection for the plant when they are growing. They act as an insecticide, depending on the type of plant
Oh.
that we're talking about and the type of alkaloid. And so
Hmm.
that alkaloid acts to protect the plant, to let it, to permit it to grow. And so
Oh.
you can think, well, if we eat a lot of this, we're going to eat the alkaloids. Yes, the alkaloids are toxic to us, but we need to know, like, for example, your worry was the tomatoes. Tomatoes, if they are left to be ripe enough, when they're very very red, that's the time to eat them. Because that's when they have the least amount of this alkaloid in them. Besides,
Hmm.
did you know that tomatoes are not a vegetable? They are a fruit. The
Mm-hmm.
Right.
vegetables are a fruit, and the same goes for the eggplant and for the peppers. Not so for the potatoes. Potatoes are a vegetable. The vegetable is the one that grows from the root or from the leaves or from the stem. And the fruit grows, it's a product that grows
Mm-hmm.
from the flower of the plant. So that's why
Huh.
tomatoes are a fruit. But if we
Okay.
eat them quite red, we are protected. Actually, they have a lot of antioxidants. They're very healthy to eat. Now, if you are suffering from IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or a chronic inflammation of the colon or colitis, for example, if you eat products from the nightshade family, the alkaloid in them can increase, not produce, but can potentially increase the inflammation in the colon. That's why they are so
Oh.
Huh.
vilified. They say, don't eat tomatoes
Okay.
because this and that, or don't eat potatoes because you're inflamed, or eggplant or peppers, they distend you even more. That's the reason. But they are actually a
Hmm.
very good source of nutrition and of antioxidants. And one of the
Huh.
plants in the nightshade family is tobacco. Tobacco. And tobacco has
Yeah.
Hmm.
an alkaloid that we all very know it causes cancer. So there you go. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe if we relate all that, we put all that together, uh, we can have an idea why they say the nightshade family. Oh no, 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 they're bad for you, but they're not
Yeah.
really bad. If you pick
Ah.
the right tomato, the right fruit, the right very ripe, that's the way to eat them. Because if you eat them green, they can be toxic, if you eat a lot of it. And
Oh.
as
Well.
well as it's interesting that when potatoes are turning green, have you heard about that, right? If you eat like a potato
No.
that's turning green, it is
Uh-huh.
toxic. It can produce
Mm-hmm.
diarrhea. You can
Huh.
vomit. So that's why stay away
A
from that
bag.
potato.
Yeah.
Just throw it out because
Huh.
the
Right.
green represents the alkaloid in that product. So
Okay.
it's very important to know when and how to eat our foods. Especially
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables
Yes.
to pick them in
But
Yeah.
the
and
right in the right timing.
but that
Mother
is a
Nature,
problem
just
because they
learning. What? Tell me.
oh, I was just going to say,
What?
the world produces things and picks them early to send them to stores,
Right.
and
Right.
that's the problem there. Yeah,
right?
they're picked when
That,
they're not
mhm.
ripe.
Right.
That's why I'm telling you, we need to learn from Mother Nature.
Mhm.
So if we
Yes.
have
Yeah.
that knowledge, we will be better nourished. We'll
Yeah.
make the right choices
Yes.
in the right
Yes.
timing.
Okay.
There's a
Thank you.
timing for everything.
You know
Okay.
what's kind of
Yes.
All
interesting
right.
too,
Yeah.
kind of along that theme, is what you're talking about with the tomatoes. Is rhubarb, the stalks you can eat, but the leaves are poisonous. So go
Right.
figure.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Yeah.
nuts. There's several plants that are like that, where you got to be careful what
And
part of the plant
and
you're eating.
don't eat rhubarb, and don't eat rhubarb if you have kidney stones.
Okay, that's good to know.
Oh.
That's very good to
Totally,
know.
totally bad for you. Yeah.
All right. Moving around the
Mm.
table, Dr. Vasquez, you have some foods that are bad on the bad list for you.
Well, yes. Summarizing here, healthy diet is the foundation for prevention and as well for treatments here. Obviously, we have to avoid refined products, sugars, flours, and we have all here the expression "you are what you eat." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
making smarter food choices can impact just about everything: mood, productivity, energy
True.
levels, stress levels, concentration, memory, you name it. So by doing a smart diet program, definitely we can help prevent these problems.
Good. Good.
All right. Well, then we'll move along to Dr. Artiega.
Well, speaking about what foods should we avoid, I think, well, Dr. Romero said something in general like sodium and tons of sugars, but well, where can you find tons of sodium in a diet or in certain foods? Well, that's canned foods, sausages, hot dogs,
Mm-hmm.
processed foods. So obviously, those are a
Fast food.
no for you. Like Dr. Vasquez mentioned, tons of sugars, canned sodas, candy, cookies, everything that is also processed. I think we should avoid. Nowadays, everything, like Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, everything is fast, instant. So
Mm-hmm.
we went from having old fashioned oatmeal into 1 minute instant oatmeal.
Yeah.
So that means that
Mm-hmm.
something
Right.
is going, it's going bad there. If you took 10 minutes probably to boil the oatmeal and now it takes one, well, probably is not the best choice for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And microwaving them.
Exactly.
And I might say something controversial,
Uh-oh.
but I think a lot of it started too when women who had children and were running their homes no longer. They went out and worked. Not that there's anything
Yes.
wrong with working or if you want to, but that left the homes with no one there to take it slow and to make things from scratch.
Yeah.
So now you had both
Ye-
people working, the children at
Yeah.
school, and everyone is rushed. And it just seemed to continue snowballing
Yeah.
in that
Kathy,
direction.
Right.
I love your comment, and I absolutely agree with it. I always say, I always tell people one of the reasons, because people say, oh, you're in good shape for your age and so forth, and I say, okay, I have to thank my mom. We were living in a world where I came from school all my life, and I never wondered if I was going to eat, what I was going to eat. I was never asked what I wanted to eat. My mother would
That's
feed
true.
us, and
Mm-hmm.
my mother. I remember that I don't know where from, and the same with both my grandmothers. I don't know where from, but they had a lot of very good ideas on how to raise a child. And my mother would say, "Now you're going to eat this and so forth because autumn is coming, and I have to get you ready for the winter." I don't know exactly what in her mind that meant, but that meant that we were switching some foods to different things. And the same for summer. No, you cannot eat this because now it's summer, it's too hot. If I eat you this, you're not going to be good in your stomach, and so on. So we had a housewife that it's a lost species. We don't have anymore a
Mm-hmm.
housewife at home to take care of it. But if we're talking, and this is again a take home message, if we are talking that we all are going to take responsibility of running a house, somebody takes the garbage out, somebody takes care of the pet, somebody cleans or vacuums the carpets, etc. We have to sit, and I always ask the people that listen to me, I always say, why don't you have a situation room meeting and you sit at the dinner table and you say, what are we going to do with our food? What are we going to
Mm-hmm.
buy? What are we going to eat?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at
Yeah.
the pantry, at the fridge. Let's take out what doesn't belong in here. Let's start thinking in a different way. And I have seen a lot of younger people. That's the change of pattern, that I have seen many children telling their parents what to eat, because I don't know if it's
Oh,
from
good.
school or from the web, but I have several friends whose children went to the parents and they said, no, we cannot buy this type of egg. We need fertile, free range eggs. We cannot buy this. No, I don't want any
Mm.
candy. And or I have a couple of friends whose children decided they wanted to be vegetarians. I don't know if they fully understand it,
Well,
but it's a welcome change that people begin to
Mm-hmm.
take a
hmm,
real interest in what we eat. Now, if we want better
yes.
food, I always tell people we all want better food. Take your dollar where the good food is. Because if we all start buying organic,
Yes.
if we all start buying better quality, if we all drop uh, over industrialized, over refined food, and we just drop them out of our lives, the food industry is going to change. It has no way
Mm-hmm.
no way to go,
True.
and it has happened. When organic food started in America, they were very expensive. Now they're a lot more
Hmm.
reasonable and a lot more available. Why? Because we
Yeah.
are putting our dollars in that type of food. So we have to make the
Yeah.
change.
Mm-hmm.
The change is not going to come from the government, from the industry to us. We have to force it. And the way to force is to take
Hmm.
your money where your money is worth something to you. If we do that, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another good piece of advice, and please don't disregard this. I know we have been touching many things, ripen or harvest before time, or toxic or non-toxic, or grass-fed, etc. There might be a lot of concepts that you say, "Oh, I lost the track." We are in all social media. We have email. We have toll-free numbers. We have just every doctor that you have heard tonight will be happy to talk to you, to send a message, to send a WhatsApp thing,
Hmm.
or a Facebook thing, and help you out to sort out what you want to do with your life. The important thing
Hmm.
is that our audience pays attention, that the more you do for your nutrition, the healthier you're going to be, and the less money you're going
Yes.
to spend in laboratories, doctors, x-rays, hospital, etc. So it's really worth it.
Right.
It
True.
pays a lot. It really provides a big profit. So any question, you don't have to give your name, you don't have to give your credit card, you don't have to do anything. All the doctors that you have heard, you can say, I heard doctor, I don't remember the name, but she talked about sugar and salt. I have this question. We'll deliver it to Dr. Romero. We'll deliver it to Dr. Arteaga. We'll deliver it to whoever it has to go. I'll be happy to talk to you, because I don't want to have patients. I want to have friends. Actually, I think that's the way medicine should be. We should be helping helping people to be
Mm-hmm.
healthier and live longer and be productive. So don't hesitate to ask a question.
Yeah.
True.
That's an unusual way of running a hospital, to
Yes.
say we don't want to see you. And so that's really a great way to do it. It's kind of like anybody who's in a higher position is always working themselves out of a job by training those underneath them. And that's just a great refreshing to hear, doctors who want to have people healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we come to Dr. Savidra to talk about your foods that you want to list out.
Okay, so we've already talked about bread to a certain extent. I would like to touch back on potatoes, especially on French fries. So the potato is this very healthy food. It's delicious, loaded with carbohydrates, but
No.
it all changes when you prepare it in a certain way. So if you have a baked potato and you use proper butter and you use proper sour cream and you do some chives on that, that's very healthy. That's actually nutritious. But then you grab your potato and you cut it and you deep fry it in all these partially hydrogenated oils, vegetable oils. You kill it. You kill the potato. Now, if you add to
Mm-hmm.
that, and then you have your hamburger with white bread that's processed, that's a recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the worst foods you could
Yeah.
have is actually French fries, not a potato itself. A potato is healthy, depending on how you prepare it. But if you have French fries with all those oils, you get all your body in
Mm-hmm.
trouble. Why? Because those partially hydrogenated oils will become part of your body, and your body doesn't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
Oils and cholesterol are part of your cells. They're the walls that differentiate the outer space from the inner space of your cells. And if your body has nothing to work with it but these bad oils, that's what it's going to use. So, in my opinion, one of the worst
Mm.
foods, or the one of the best decisions you can do, is stop eating French fries.
That's going to be hard for Bill right here.
Well,
Well, yeah,
work on it, Bill.
probably
You can do it. I
Yeah.
believe in you.
like 98% of America is probably saying, "Wait a
And that's the
minute."
problem. That's
Well,
the
and
problem.
yes,
Fast
By
food.
anonymous
Yeah.
for Bill.
Yeah, so
Yes.
fast food is
Yeah.
basically that: a
It's
soda pop,
difficult.
French fries, and bread. That's the issue. Our diet is
Yeah.
actually very
it's-
limited. Once you
And
look at
we
it, you always
found,
eat wheat.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
always eat
Yeah.
soda
we
pop, and
found
you always eat
living
French
in
fries.
Florida
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, but not that
Bill
I'm
does.
touting myself, but I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. He does it wrong. But living in Florida now, we are discovering there's too much fried food everywhere.
Oh yeah.
After church, some people want us to go to this one restaurant for a brunch meal because they do cook everything right there. But they have fried everything
Yeah.
every time we go. And I just like, I don't want to go anymore because there
Yeah.
are just too much fried food here
It is.
in this area.
It is hard to go to a restaurant anymore and not, and be able to pick something that's healthy. We're finding that pretty well around this area.
In this area,
But
yes.
we're running out of time.
Are we?
I wish we had 2 hours, because this
Yeah.
is really
You know,
a good
but
subject.
we could ask, you
on
know what,
food.
guys? We could ask a quick question, and that is, since we heard about the bad foods, what about something
Yeah.
that the doctors can recommend that would be some of the best things that we can eat that's good for our bodies, good for our health? Dr.
Well,
Rodriguez.
that's easy. It's and I'm
Yeah.
not saying it. This is out of this peer study. It says fruits, vegetables,
Yeah.
nuts, legumes, fish, whole fat dairy products, and that is going to be a very good formula. So
Mhm.
let's. There's so many things to say that once again, I'd like you to contact us and tell us what What do you want to know? What are you doing? What is your question? Let's take one case at a time. You've seen it, Dr. Saavedra, Dr. Vasquez, Robert, myself. We'll be happy to answer your question. So please don't take this lightly. And you can give my name and the contact information to anyone you think might make good use of this. So let's just keep
Yeah.
in touch.
Yes.
Let's become friends, and we'd love to be your guide and inspiration.
And I
Awesome.
think what
Great.
Bill and I will do is on our program on Tuesday nights, we will give your number for
Yeah.
BioCare,
Sure.
because we talk about some of these issues
We
about
do.
what the world is doing to our food supply and what
Yeah.
the world is doing to our air and the environment. And it would be very easy to make sure and do that.
Yeah, and we have
We have
advertised
done, yes.
BioCare. I highly recommend you, the doctors there. Well, I suppose
Thank
we'll
you.
go around the table once more. We just have a couple minutes left, I guess, and so if everyone would just give one food, how about one food that you say would be the best to focus on for your diet?
And then maybe a closing remark
and then
that you
we'll have
want
a-
to say.
Right. So we'll start out with Dr. Romero again.
Hi. Hello again. I think that the most complete food available that we know is the egg. The egg. Of course, I can
Egg.
I
Oh,
can, I can
good.
give you a
Nice.
list, but the egg is the most complete. It has all the vitamins, all the proteins, the amino acids that we need. If we were run out of food and everything, the world only have eggs, that would be perfect. We would survive with that. But
Wow.
there's other
I
things,
agree.
obviously.
Nice.
Other nutritious foods, but the egg is the most perfect one.
All right.
Good.
All
So
right.
there
Well, you
have
may
it.
know we have chickens now.
Yeah.
We have chickens now, but
Oh,
they
wow.
haven't started laying eggs yet.
Not
But
yet.
Great,
But
great.
they will.
Good.
yes. Yes.
Very good.
All right. Dr.
Good.
Vasquez.
Yes, this is not exactly a food, but it's part of our diet. Making water your drink of choice. Water supports health
Yes.
and promotes hydration without adding calories to your
Good.
diet.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd like to
Yeah.
also
Very
add
good.
that you drink good, clean, filtered water, and you can go to the Truth Be Told Network homepage, and you can look up Dr. McCaney's wonderful filters that work with any gravity-fed water device, and they work better than the Berkeys. They're fantastic, and you'll get addicted to water when you start drinking really clean,
Yeah.
pure water.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Shameless plug, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right. Dr. Arteaga.
Well, one of the fruits that I like, which is apple, I think if you're
Huh?
hungry and grab an apple, I think it'll be better than some other bread or just a Twinkie. The apple
Nice.
has
Yeah.
the amount of fiber. It will make you chew it and bite it. And it's not just
Right.
something that you just swallow. So I guess the phrase says, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Very nice.
Good.
That's good. Dr. Saavedra.
Yes, in regards to one food that I definitely make it part of my diet and make a habit of eating once a week, liver. Cow's liver, liver and onions.
Ooh.
Liver has everything. It has vitamins, it has minerals, it has a lot of protein. So it's a very healthy food. You don't want to overdo it, but liver once a week is a healthy choice.
Huh.
And in regards to
Wow.
what Dr. Vasquez was saying about how water is a calorie-free substance, water is definitely very important. But we've been sold on the idea of the calorie in a wrong way. You are not supposed to eat to get calories. You're supposed to eat to get nutritious food.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
if the calorie was the thing, then a bottle of Coke would be the same as an apple, and they're definitely different. The way your body processes it is way, way off. So if a calorie was a calorie, we wouldn't be in this health situation as we are now.
Wow.
True.
Very good. I appreciate that. Dr. Rodriguez, we're back to you, and we'll ask for closing comments and your favorite food.
Well, I have several, and some of them have been mentioned. With the apple, I would add a banana, uh, very
Ah.
rich in everything. Eggs, definitely. Again, you have to look for free range, hormone free organic
Mm-hmm.
eggs, but they're as good today as they were in Jesus' time. So just look for the good quality eggs. Olive oil is another miracle
Ah,
food. That's actually
sure.
the baseline of Mediterranean diet. One
Mm-hmm.
ounce of olive oil a day can lower your blood pressure, can help you lose weight, can help you be very
Mm.
healthy.
Oh.
It is anti-inflammatory and so on. So those are the foods. But again, call me, write me, send me a message, be my
Yeah.
friend, and you're going to see that we
Yes.
can
Yeah.
work together day by day. And I'm willing to be on the phone while you go through the supermarket aisle.
And Dr. Rodriguez,
Yeah.
can you give
Well,
people
that
your email address, a way, a telephone that they can use to reach out to you with those questions?
Oh, yes, it is 800 701 7345. So
Perfect.
it's
And
all
it's
let me
right.
ask you a quick question. I had heard over the years that, like they're talking about with eggs and things like that, that the banana was one of the perfect foods that, like with eggs, I think it was Dr. Romero who was talking about it earlier, that you could live on nothing but eggs if that's all there was. And I heard that was also true. You could eat bananas and stay relatively healthy. But the question I have for you in relation to that is I noticed years ago when we would buy bananas, they would stay ripe and everything and edible much longer than it seems like today. Today we buy them, we bring them home, and it seems like within 2 or 3 days they're already starting to go bad.
Well, don't ask me. Ask the food industry.
Yeah, it's really
Food
strange.
Yeah.
food is collected very early, and they travel for miles and days,
Yeah.
etc. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to be careful when we buy our food.
Yes.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
have one quick question for Dr. Rodriguez. How would you recommend utilizing olive oil in your diet? I know we use it to cook eggs with, but I don't have it for a lot of recipes. What would you
Okay,
recommend using it, or how? In what
I'm
way?
very uh, be like Kathy. I don't know if you read a lot, if you went to medical school, or you're very intuitive, but you say a lot of very good things. I mean, you could talk about this yourselves and be telling a lot of truths. Olive oil, you can have it anyway. And if you want to do something very good, for example, is have an ounce of olive oil with half an ounce of apple cider vinegar. You mix it, you drink it every
Oh.
day, and that lowers insulin spikes.
Hmm.
It's very healthy and
Hmm.
very good. Of course, you can put it in bread, you can put it in
Uh,
salad dressings, you can do. And something that I want to say now, yes, you can fry with olive oil.
Hmm.
Everything you have heard about not frying
uh,
with olive oil is
Mm-hmm.
a myth produced probably by the food industry. You can fry with olive oil.
Uh-huh.
Actually,
hmm.
olive oil has a smoky point higher than vegetable oil. So it's healthier. If you're going
Hmm.
to fry, you can fry with olive oil. But I have to say something. Fried food is not really for human consumption. So if you're going to do
Hmm.
it on 4th of July and your birthday, no more than that.
That is a good
Okay.
recommendation.
Well, we have so enjoyed this roundtable on food, and I appreciate so much that you want to be the friend of people that you will talk to, and patients and such, and the rest of your doctors, I'm sure, feel the same way.
They're
That
very welcoming.
yes, and you're always open for questions and give very good answers. I mean, this has really helped us, and I know out there with the tape that's going to be played, as well as those that have been listening to us live, have appreciated the information as well. So
Yes.
we really do appreciate it. We hate to end this. We could go another hour, but we do have to go. So thank you so much to all the doctors and for Kevin for orchestrating this. So we appreciate it, and take care. And thank you all for listening.
Yes.
A pleasure.
Have a good day.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.